you mentioned Bowers being a subject of interest
Yep.
for someone to trade up. Who would trade out? You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying here. Like
Yep.
who would trade out
So,
with all of these talented tackles and receivers and quarterbacks at the top and the Jets sitting there at 10? You know,
yep.
for me, again, I like speaking things into existence, whether it was Sauce Gardner or your guy Garrett, Wilson in the same draft, or
Yep.
and I that's the guy. I mean, if you got Aaron Rodgers 40 years old and you hit the crap out of the offensive line in free agency, and I understand that you got to get depth at that position based on what a dumpster fire it was last year. I would love to add Brock Bowers and say, all right, Aaron, let's go.
Well,
This is it.
okay. So like I would say the Titans at 7 will listen. You know, I I think if Joe Alt were to fall to them at 7, God, that would be tough to pass up. You know what I mean? Like I've talked to a couple of evaluators over the last few days who've compared him to Joe Thomas, and who say I talked to one GM who said his pro day was the best pro day I've ever seen from an offensive lineman. He's the son of an NFL player. He has so much growth that's still there for him because he played tight end in high school. He just turned 21 like less than 2 months ago. So I think if Alt was there for the Titans, I think they'd have a hard time passing on him, but I think they'd listen on a trade down. The Bears are another one that are really interesting. Now they've kicked around on a trade up, but they only have 4 picks. And I know they'd like to get an offensive lineman, they'd like to get an edge rusher, they'd like to add another receiver. And so, like, if a team's looking to come up and get Bowers, this perception out there that the Jets would really like Bowers helps the Bears potentially move that pick. So, say Indianapolis, and Indy is interesting because I've heard Bowers compared to Dallas Clark. Could they come up, for one of the top 3 receivers, or Brock Bowers? I certainly could see that as a possibility. Especially with the relationship Chris Ballard and Ryan Poles have, because the two of them work together in Kansas City.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.